Back everybody, this is Hayes Tech, and this is the channel where we talk about pretty much anything tech. Now today is going to be another review on a Casio watch, and again, if you guys know anything about me, you know that I love Casio watches. Without getting into a lot of history in the opener, I just want to say that if you are looking for a quality watch at an affordable price, and when I say quality, I'm talking high quality, look no further than Casio, all right? Because you can get some outstanding watches with a lot of features for starting at around $30. If you really want to get into something special, jump up, to the around $80 and up and get into the G-Shock series of watches. Because G-Shocks are just crazy with the specs that they come with. So today what we're going to go over are what you're looking at right here, and this is the GWG-1000 series of G-Shock watches. And of course, this one is mine, which has the more colored face and like an OD green band. And then there's this one. This is the newest version, which is their blacked out version. You guys can see that right there. So when we come back, we're going to get into the GWG-1000 from Casio. Alright, and we are back. Now, I do want to get out of the way that these watches are probably, well, they are. These are Casio's most expensive watches, okay? And they're priced right at around the $700 mark. Now, that's retail. That's what they're saying that you should sell them at. Now, what are you more likely going to spend on these watches? Well, you can get them new starting at around $550. And the average price you're going to pay is around $599, $600. I've seen them as high as around $650. Now, if you get some of the JDM versions, which are the Japanese only versions, some of those you can pick up, well, if you have the money, for around $5,000. Seriously, guys, that's crazy. And the resale value on those watches are phenomenal. They hardly ever drop. And when they do drop in price, it's not by much. So if you can get one of those and verify that it is an actual JDM version, you're not going to go wrong picking it up, because you can always resell it and get all your money back, if not more. Now, in the Mudmaster series, which these are, okay, because you have like your Mudmasters, you have your Rangemen, there are so many different ones that you can get in the G-Shock series. The Mudmaster is, again, the most expensive. The Mudmaster series is, in my opinion, the most rugged, okay? This is the one everybody wants if you're a hiker or a hunter or, whatever, just an outdoors person, or you just like something that looks badass. This is the watch you're going to get. Not saying that the other, like the Rangeman and all them, aren't badass, because trust me, guys, they are. I actually have a Rangeman, and my wife got it for me, and I love that watch. But, I mean, these things are just so crazy good. I mean, this is right here. This is my everyday watch. And I have, like, I don't know, 35, 40 different watches. This is the one I wear every day. Now, I did want to take a little bit of time out to tell you guys a little bit about the history of Casio. And I know I said it in some of my other videos. Casio did come out with the G-Shock series in about the 1980s, right around there. And they had a goal of creating a watch that could be dropped, from like 10 meters and survive, okay? And be submerged up to 100 bar, and survive without any water leaks, anything like that. And it had to have a 10-year warranty on the battery, meaning you shouldn't have to replace that battery for at least 10 years. And I'm going to tell you a little something about Casio watches. I've only ever had to replace the battery in one of my Casio watches, and I've had those watches for, I know, more than 10 years. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to replace, quite a few watch batteries here pretty soon, because a lot of them I probably should have had to change, a couple years ago. But anyways, I digress. Back to the Mudmaster. If you are a watch fan, you really need to dig into the history on the G-Shock brand of watches, but I mean, it's crazy how many times they failed. But they finally, reached, they finally met that goal that they were setting for themselves. That bar that they set for themselves, they finally met that. And yeah, the batteries can last up to 10 years in these watches. These watches, you can submerge up to 100 bar and not have to worry about them, leaking with the crystal cracking on them or whatever. And of course, be dropped up to 10 meters. So that's over 30 feet without affecting the watch whatsoever. So, there you go. I mean, kudos to Casio for that. Again, I know Casio's had a lot of rib roasting in the past about their watches. And, the watches before the Mudmaster and, the Rangeman and just the G-Shock, in general. Everybody thought, Casio, that's the poor man's watch. I'm going to tell you what. Yes, they were affordable watches. That's not to say they didn't have watches that were, higher end, because they did. But most common people went out, like myself, and would just get, Walmart had them, and they would just pick up a watch from Walmart, a Casio, and wear it. And the thing about Casio watches is, even though you picked it up at Walmart for, 25, 30 bucks, if you didn't completely crush the watch, it's still running today. And again, that's why I love Casio watches so much. Now, the G-Shock series of watches with over 100 million sold today is obviously the most prevalent watch in the market today. It's just crazy how many of these are out there and how many people love these watches, because I know I do. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into these watches. I've been blabbing enough. Now, in this video, again, I'm going to focus on the Mudmaster lineup of watches, and I have two here to show. This one, and the model numbers, they're all GWG-1000, but you have 1A1 and, other model nomenclatures like that. I don't remember exactly which ones these are, but I'm just going to say my OD green and then Noah's blacked out one, okay? And I had to really rush to get this video in because Noah wears that watch to school, and it's hard for me to get it off of him. So I did have a little time today because it's on a weekend, and I don't ever do videos on a weekend, but I figured I'd get this done, while I had to watch. But anyways, let's get into these watches. The one thing I did want to say is I'm not going to get into all of the functions on this watch. There are a couple really good videos out there that are, absolute tutorials on these watches. And the one of them is actually a two-part video. And I'm going to link those videos below. But I'm just going to go over just the main features of the watch, okay? Because I'm not going to be able to do it justice in a tutorial on how to use the watch. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is you have a very, very easy to read hand on it. It does have your minute, hours, second hand. And the thing about these watches are, these you do not have to manually set. You can if you want. These are actually atomic watches, and they will sync with, I think it's somewhere in the central United States, but every night, and I think it's between 12 o'clock and 6 a.m. Guys, again, I'm not going to be 100% accurate on this. They actually connect with that, and they sync the watch. So they are very, very accurate. But if you did have to set the watch, all the settings are basically in the crown, okay? And the way you do that is you actually have to unscrew the crown right here, okay? So you'd have to unscrew it. You just keep screwing. And the reason why they have it screwed down like that is to seal it up, so no water gets in there. Now, once it's out, it's out. You'll notice you can see the red ring. That's the gasket. Now, the watch is still running, but if I was to pull this out, the watch will stop. There, I just pulled it out. The watch stopped. It is in settings mode, okay? Now, I'm not going to do any settings on it or go through it, but when you push it back in, the watch goes right back to the actual time, and it's ready to go. Now, you want to make sure that you push in on this crown and tighten it back down to seal it back up, because this keeps your watch from getting any water into the crown and then, of course, ruining it. I have issues, but once I get it started, it's good. You just screw it down until it stops, give it a little bit of a extra little snug up, and you're good to go. Okay, that's tight. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to strip this out. Remember, it's a watch. But the gaskets in there work great. But I mean, it's got a really nice milled back on it. I mean, that's a sign of a quality watch. I love how it's got these arms on it that mold to your wrist. It is a big watch. But what's nice about them are they are molded to fit your wrist, and they're very, very comfortable watches. Now, this button here, while everything's set up and the button is pushed in, if you just press it once, it basically changes your mode. Now, one thing I don't like about these watches is they're blacked out. Okay, the digital part at the bottom down here, it's blacked out, and I don't like watches that are blacked out. Now, Noah, he loves this watch. He just loves the blacked out. That's the theme he likes. So he likes that. I don't. I want to be able to see that digital. This is where you see, your date and stuff like that. You can actually push this button here, and you can cycle through your just to show your date, to show the barometer, and the date, stuff like that. This is your functions button, where when you, if you notice this hand right here, let me grab my other watch. You can see the. Now, if you watch this little hand right here, when I push this button, every time I push it, notice the hand moved. It is in a different function, and that first one is. Anyways, the second one, when you press it again, you'll hear a beep. That's your thermometer or your temperature. And then, of course, you have your alarm functions. Has a lot of different alarm functions and features. You have your dual time. And then when you press it, see, that's your dual time. And then when you press it again, that's your last function. And then you press it again, it goes back to home. And those are your functions. Again, I called A, B, C, D. It would be your C button is what the one you would use. Now the buttons over on this side of the watch are for your, the top one is for your compass. So if you press and hold it, the second hand always points to north. So if I was to spin it, it would go to north, south, east, west. So, and then if you touch the function button once, it'll go back. Or just let it go, and then after, I think it's 1 minute, it'll just revert back. And of course, your bottom button over here is your altimeter. If you press it, it says altimeter, ALT, and tells you what your altitude is. And again, to go back, you want to press your number 3 button over here, or your function button, and it'll take you back. Again, I'm not going to get into an in-depth video to let you know, what all the functions are. I will link that video below where to go to, and be prepared. It is well, the second video is not that long. I think it's about 15 minutes long. The first video is like 40 minutes, and it goes through every single function. And if I were you and you own this watch, I highly recommend bookmarking that video so you can get to it whenever you need it. I just wanted to show you the 2 different variants that we have, and just to let you know what I think about them. Because I'm going to tell you what, guys, again, I wear mine every day. Noah wears his every day, and we love these watches. Now, I did want to say that the crystal on the watches, these are a sapphire crystal, okay? And I said it in the past that my favorite type or kind of crystal to have on a watch is a sapphire crystal, just because it is the clearest, and you can tell the difference between a sapphire and a plastic crystal. It's the clearest, and it's the strongest. Now, and when I say strongest, I mean scratch resistant. Yes, you can break them crystals, absolutely. And I think the ones that are the most shock absorbent would have to be plastic. But I'm going to tell you, for a watch like this that you're going to be outdoors and scraping against rocks and all that, you want, a crystal that is made of sapphire, because you don't want to scratch it. That's the worst thing to have on a watch, is a scratched up crystal. And when I say the crystal, I'm referring to the glass. It sucks when you can't see the numbers or anything on the watch face. this is where the sensors are underneath there. Now your altimeter and your compass is right there. The thermometer, I'm going to say one thing that I don't like about these watches. The thermometer, you can't use it while you're wearing it, okay? If you want an accurate reading on this watch, take the watch off of your arm and just set it down in the environment that you want to know what the temperature is, okay? Once the watch gets to ambient temperature, you're going to get a very good reading of what the ambient temperature is, okay? But I did want to bring that up because I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, the thermometers on these things suck. They don't work." No, they do work. But the problem is you're wearing the watch and the thermometer's against your skin. So it's always going to give you a reading of 80, almost 90 degrees, even when it's pretty cold outside. So, again, remember, you want to make sure that that crown is in the screwed down position. That is what keeps water from ingressing into the stem, okay? The last thing I wanted to bring up was Casio just came out with the Mudmaster GWG-1000 lineup. And I'll tell you, from what I can tell, the only real differences between the 1000 and 2000 is instead of having a ABS plastic outer shell out here, it's actually got a metal outer shell. And I think it's stainless steel, I think. It's also got a graphite back. It doesn't have this back on it, which I love. This is what I like. The GWG 2000s actually have a graphite back cover plate. But that makes it good for getting an accurate temperature because the metal has a tendency to soak up the heat from your arm and hold it in. And with having a graphite back on the newer ones, it doesn't do that. Yes, you still have to take the watch off of your arm to get an accurate temperature if you want, what the outside air temperature is. But it doesn't take long to get to that temperature. Whereas these thick metal backs, because these are milled backs, and so they're thicker than what a normal watch would be. That tends to hold your body heat. That's why I said to get a good temperature reading, you want to take the watch off, set it, somewhere in the ambient air, and just let it sit there for about 10 minutes or so, and that allows it to get an accurate reading of what your air temperature is around you. Anyways, I like the 1000 series better than the 2000 series, and that's, again, just a personal preference. But I could understand all those people out there who are purchasing those watches. I can completely understand why they are. They're just awesome watches. Guys, be very, very careful about imposters, okay? There are so many of these watches out there that are being sold as Casio Mudmasters, and they are imposter Chinese-made watches that are total junk. I actually got one myself. I kind of figured it was, an imposter watch, but I kind of wanted to do a video on it and show you guys. So if you want to see what an imposter one of these looks like, I'll try to link that video below too. Just be aware that they are out there. And the one thing I will say is if it sounds too good to be true, it is, okay? You're not going to get one of these watches brand new for under, I would say, $475 to $500. You're just not going to do it. So, again, if it's too good to be true, it's probably fake. Now, the used market's where you got to be careful because you can get really good deals and they're actual Casio Mudmasters. But again, because that, you could get a really good deal because it is used. A lot of these companies are getting you. They're saying used, but in like new condition. They're actually brand new Chinese watches, and they're selling them to you. I know it probably cost them $25 to make the watch, and they're selling it to you for $250 and up. So yeah, all right. I went on long enough about the Casio GWG-1000, but I've been wanting to make this video for so long because, again, this is my all-time favorite watch of all, bar none. You could give me a Rolex and I would say, nope, the Casio is my favorite. That's how much I love these watches. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much it. If you guys can think of anything that you would like me to do a video on, comment below. Let me know, and I will try to get that video out. With the whole virus issue going on right now. It is a little harder for me to get products to do the videos like I was doing before, but it doesn't mean I don't have videos coming, because I do. Iyuki sent me another reverse camera. Remember on my truck they sent me that rear view camera system? Somebody ripped off my reverse camera after they backed into my truck. So I did contact Iyuki and told them about it, and they said, no problems, we'll send you another one. Again, like I said earlier, I don't want to make this a really long video. There are very good tutorials out there that go through every single feature on this watch. I really just wanted to let you guys know what I thought of the watch and what my opinion of it was, and whether or not, I would recommend it to you all. And the one thing I have to say is these are not cheap watches. Again, I went over that earlier. If you do want the cheaper version of this, which has all the functions that this has, except for the atomic clock, and I think just, some real small things, you can get the GG-100, and you can pick those up for about, I think it's $350 new. They do not have a sapphire crystal. It is a mineral crystal, which is still pretty hard, but that's basically just glass. Still, it's not plastic, so it's not going to scratch as easy as plastic, but again, it's not going to be as durable as plastic, and it's not going to be as durable as the sapphire crystal, that come in these watches. But again, those are just some of the cost savings that they have. There, I went rambling again. All right, guys, so there you go. Yeah, I can highly recommend them. Go out and grab one if you can afford it in these days, but if you can afford it, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend any Casio watch. So thank you all again for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.